powered by Riverside FM.
You're listening to the 2400 Block Podcast with Jonnyroobs.
Hey everyone, it's Jonnyroobs. Welcome to another episode of the 2400 Block Podcast. Glad you guys decided to drop in because we are going to have a great episode on hand. Now, this topic will center on body imaging issues such as eating disorders, body shaming, bullying, and so forth. Now, I have a special guest here that is going to provide insight on all of these. In addition, she is a body image advocate for Northwestern University. And I cannot leave this part out because she is so awesome at this. She is a skilled Division I fencer and has appeared on an issue of American Fencing magazine. Now let's give a round of applause for Megumi Oishi over there in Portland, Oregon. Hopefully I pronounced that correct. Thanks for putting in the effort on joining me here this morning. And I know we are like 2 hours apart, but hey, we're making it work. So yeah, welcome to the show, Megumi.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
All right. Now, before we get onto the topic of body imaging issues here, I'll tell the viewers and listeners briefly about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Megumi, and I am from Portland, Oregon. I am Japanese American, and I am currently going into my sophomore year at Northwestern University as a Division I student athlete, and I'm a recruited fencer on their team, and I absolutely love it there, and fencing is a huge part of my life.
Oh, that is so awesome. Okay, here's another set of questions I want to ask you. Or got them right here down the list. And what was it like growing up as a Japanese American kid?
I would say in the Pacific Northwest, there's not a lot of us. So it definitely felt pretty unique. Mm-hmm. I was sent to Japanese school every Saturday up until I think around the end of middle school. And so that kind of separated me a little bit from my peers in that I couldn't attend birthday parties. I didn't really go to like play dates on Saturdays. Ultimately it all paid off because I can still speak Japanese pretty fluently and I can communicate with my parents. Oh,
that is so awesome. So after that, you were able to revert back to your lifestyle and, pretty much go back to what you missed, right?
Yeah, for sure. So like immediately after I was freed from Japanese school, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna go back and have all the experiences that I missed. But again, like I said, I do not regret it at all. And I can finally thank my parents for it because it paid off so well.
Oh, wow. That is awesome. And when was it that you ended that schooling? Is that during your middle school years?
Yeah, so I think right after or during my freshman year of high school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, was there a time in your life that you encountered like racial epithets as well as being stereotyped because of your ethnicity?
Thank goodness, no. But I think one of the things that is super irking is when somebody hears that I'm Japanese American and the first question they ask after is, where's the best sushi restaurant in town? Like, I'm not Google Maps. Like, you can search that up on your own. But yeah, so thank goodness, no racial stereotyping, nothing. So yeah, I've been very thankful for that.
Oh, that's good. All right, have you ever traveled to your motherland, that is Japan?
Absolutely, yeah. I have, separate from the COVID years, I've been able to travel there every summer. So nice. I get to see, all my family's over there. So I go and see my grandma. I see my dad's side of the family. It's wonderful.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
As for me, I was actually born in Japan in Yokosuka because my dad was in the Navy back then, many years ago.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Yeah, and the Japanese were like the first, community that I've been introduced to. So I still have a little bit of some memories.
Oh, awesome! Can you speak any Japanese?
No, except mimicking it sometimes. When I say konnichiwa, I don't even know I said it right, but hey, I tried, right?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think I'll just say this for the record. Back in high school, I fell in love with a foreign exchange student, and that was like way back in, I think, the month of May. I think I saw her at the prom, and we talked a bit, and after that we just like fell in love. But the thing was, it was poor timing. She had to go back to Japan, and I had to go on with my life.
No,
yeah,
that's horrible. I'm sorry.
I know. Yeah, that's where that's my first kiss right there. So yeah. So
that's so cute.
So Mickey, if you're watching in Japan, if you're seeing me now, this is me. talking to a fellow, one of your counterparts here, So yeah, just had to let that out. And we met like a year later, but our feelings were never the same. So yeah, life goes on. Yeah.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. Oh,
there you go. I'll let my life out just like that right here in the podcast. Now going back to the task at hand here, were you able to learn more about your roots and culture while you were there every time?
Yeah, for sure. What's super cool is I talk about this with my mom all the time, but I think being an American, but also being Japanese, I have the fascination of a foreigner, but I also have the understanding of somebody who is Japanese. So what I mean by that is that there's certain things that I understand and, and kind of like I know how to make my way around Japan, but there's also some random things that I think are just so cool and so unique that my parents just kind of blow past because they're Japanese and they're so used to it. I want to say things like Japanese TV or things like that. I'm like, oh, these shows are super cool. My parents are like, well, those are commercials that are on like all the time. And I'm like, oh my God, no, the commercials are so cool. I love them. But yeah, definitely. I have had the chance to visit a lot of, ancient architecture and a lot of just like shrines and temples and things like that. And that I feel like brings me back a lot closer to my motherland and just my culture.
You ever trace back your ancestors and you're like, wow, my great-great-great-grandfather was a badass warrior? No?
That would be really cool. Actually, what's really cool is we can almost tell for certain that my family was descended from samurais, I'm pretty sure, which is from the last name Oishi, right after the whole, the samurais had their swords taken away and things like that. The Japanese were allowed to pick their last names. And Oishi in Japanese means big rock.
Big rock.
So from what we can tell, it's a pretty, random last name, right? And that was because when the Japanese were allowed to pick their last names, they just looked outside in their yard and they were like, oh, well, Big Rock, that's our last name now. Or, they'd be like, oh, we live on a hill, so that's our last name now. So that's kind of the fascinating history behind how Japanese last names were picked.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right. By the way, a special shout out to one of my Japanese friends, Julie Nakagawa. Thank you for watching. Yes, I'm talking to one of your counterparts. So that's cool. So I'm glad you're either listening or watching this. She's been following me lately. And she's been one of my good friends. Okay.
Awesome.
Were you? Oh, I already answered that one. Of all the universities nationwide that you had to choose from, you went with Northwestern University. What made them the right choice for you personally?
Yeah, so I was initially getting recruited by Division I schools, and I was looking at all of them, and all of them are just excellent programs, excellent schools, and so it was really hard to choose a school. But I think what made Northwestern stand out was how welcoming they all were, just the team, everything, the coaches, the school itself, honestly. That's what made Northwestern really stand out for me. And I think one of the best things about Northwestern being there right now that I understand is that they make research available for everyone. I'm not sure if this is with all private institutions, but for Northwestern, from what I can tell, they're extremely good at extending opportunities for research and public, or just kind of like going out into Chicago and studying and things like that. They make everything very accessible. And I think as a 19-year-old going into college and being like, man, research probably isn't for me. I'm a student athlete. Like, I don't like any of that kind of stuff. I'll leave that to like the bio majors. But they're extremely helpful and they have the funds available, and they're just always there to help, which I think is one of the things that I didn't quite realize about Northwestern, but before I went in, but now that I'm there, I definitely appreciate a lot.
Oh, that's cool. And what other schools were competing with you choosing?
Yeah, I don't know if I can disclose that necessarily, but yeah, just like Division 1 top level colleges. And I will say I had a very hard time choosing because they were all such good fencing programs and they offered the courses that I really wanted. And yeah, so it was a very tough decision for me.
Were any of them nearest to Portland?
No, they were not. Yeah, so I think Division 1 fencing colleges are mostly they're on like the East Coast, Midwest kind of situation. The West Coast, I think, only has a few schools. I want to name UCSD, Stanford, Air Force. Those kinds of schools are on the West Coast, but I think mainly East Coast and Midwest.
Oh, okay. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm glad you chose Northwestern. I'm sure they're very proud to have you.
Yeah, I love it so much. I definitely am very happy with my choice.
Wonderful. And for those at Northwestern University, thank you for watching this show. I'm sure you already know her. So
thank you guys.
All right. Okay, just a few more questions and we'll move on to that topic itself. What got you interested in fencing?
So it was pretty random, I'm going to say. My mom wanted to get me into sports all the time, and she was trying to get me into like camps, like softball, soccer, volleyball, things like that. And I was terrible at all of them. I showed absolutely no sense for athletics, athleticism. I wasn't an athletic kid. And there was one point where my mom sat down and she was like, oh my God, my daughter's never going to be good at sports. She's hopeless. And then kind of as a last resort, she was like, well, why don't we put you into fencing? See what you like. And I was like, okay, like I've seen it on TV. I've seen it on the Olympics. Let's just try it out. So I tried it out in a local camp, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. And I think the reason why I love it so much and, have continued it for 10 years is because I chose saber. There's 3 weapons in fencing, epee, foil, and saber. And saber is the fastest one, and it's the most aggressive, and you got to chase each other down the strip and things like that. And anyway, it's a very fast-paced mental game. And so that's what I think I've appreciated and loved about it all these 10 years. And yeah, I've absolutely adored it since. And since then, my mom has actually started fencing as well. Fencing is a very inclusive sport where I think people over 40 as well can enter into their own veteran age groups. So my mom also fences as a veteran fencer. So it's really awesome being able to fence her as well.
Did you ever, were you each other's sparring partner?
Yeah, actually. Back when I was in high school, we would, go in on Saturdays and train together and things like that. There's also, all age group, categories as well in regional tournaments. So we have fenced each other before in a tournament setting, which was definitely interesting. But yeah, we were each other's sparring partners, and we loved training together.
Oh, great. So how long did it took for you to fully master this sport? I'm sure you learned a lot.
Yeah. I will say I was not that great at it for the first, I want to say like 4 or 5 years. I want to say that I had very little competitive fire, and I didn't have kind of what it took to be a good fencer. And I think in saber especially, you got to be resilient. You got to be kind of aggressive, very forward. And I was not that kind of kid. I was shy. I was quiet. And the thing about fencing, saber especially, is that there's a lot of screaming. So if you've ever seen like a tennis match, how they celebrate. In fencing, they do that as well. And I didn't scream until maybe my 4th or 5th year in the sport. And that's immediately when I found my fire. And I think that's when I started to want to be like, okay, I want to win and I want to, be strategic and things like that. And so until I found that competitive fire, I definitely was not anywhere close to being, good at it, or, I was just enjoying it, which I guess is all right too. But now I'm screaming, I'm having fun, and I'm very competitive. So definitely have evolved a lot from when I started.
You have any like aspirations, like probably trying to make it to the Olympics?
Actually, yeah. So my biggest goal was to be recruited to college, and being able to do that, I was like, okay, that's great, that's wonderful. So I think Olympic dreams, I'm not really sure. I'm not going to completely discount that because you never know. But yeah, so my biggest goal was to get into college, and me and my family are just very happy that I was able to accomplish that. So yeah, we'll see.
I mean, that would be cool. Like one day I'll be like, like, wow, I interviewed Megumi before she won her medal. So.
Stop that.
So this will be like one for the books. And speaking of fencing, I think the last time I actually saw some fencing on TV was watching the Wednesday series on Netflix when she was doing the fencing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's a. All the fencers are very like. I want to say it's cool, and it was very well choreographed in terms of. Screen combat and things like that. But in terms of is it accurate fencing wise, not completely. There's actually a show, I want to say it's called 2521. It's a Korean K-drama show, and it has a lot of fencing like action in that. And that is actually a really accurate portrayal of saber fencing. And so a lot of saber fencers will be like, yeah, like 2521. That's kind of how fencing is very well portrayed in modern media. But yeah, Wednesday had it for sure.
Okay, I'll definitely look into that show, the one you were just talking about there. All right.
Very good stuff.
Final question, which will lead to today's topic. What led you to helping others when it comes to these body imaging issues regarding athletes? Were you a victim yourself at this?
Yeah, so I faced it mainly from well, actually it was two different things, because I faced it from the sport and also from my non-athlete peers. So within the sport, I had mentors being like, saying things about like what I was wearing, things like that. And, my fellow athletes being like, oh, Megumi, your arms are so big, you look like a guy. Or, they'd say things about my face as well. Sorry about that.
No problem.
And there'd be things about, like my acne and whatnot. So, sorry, 1 second.
That's okay.
So, yeah, there was a lot about that as well. But I think from my school peers, there was a lot about, I was trying to wear the same clothes as they did. So, like mini skirts and tank tops and things like that. But I just looked really like manly and like kind of like a guy, and they'd point it out because, I had a lot of muscle mass. And I think what kind of led me to helping others was realizing that a lot more people experienced it. And I learned that through, watching celebrity interviews, or, just hearing about girls just casually being like, yeah, I experienced that too, or even guys. So just hearing a lot from the athlete community that it's a wider spread issue was what led me ultimately to believe that it is, a much larger issue than just me facing these issues. So I was like, I got to do something about this. Okay.
All right. So moving on here, I know this has hit news a few weeks ago or a few days ago. Former Northwestern University player accused former coach Pat Fitzgerald and the school Tuesday of tolerating hazing, alleging rituals involving a naked human car wash, and a punishment called Shrek claps in the first lawsuit filed since the scandal rocked the Big Ten University. And this was by NBC News, who posted this one. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so I don't think I'm gonna put my thoughts out there on that one. But I will say that yeah, I think those kinds of things are what will start to be a lot more publicized in just media, because I want to say that there's a lot more awareness, thank goodness, of things like that happening. And so I think that there's a lot of opportunities for people to now speak out and, talk about the injustices that have happened to them. And I think just in general in the world of athletics, modern perception and reception of that kind of thing has opened up a lot of opportunities for people to be able to speak out and get justice for themselves.
Well said. Couldn't come any better than that. All right. Well, Megumi, I shall now give you the open floor to speak on this podcast regarding body imaging issues and why it's so important for the viewers and listeners to know and to provide as much pertinent information and insight to your knowledge. So take it away.
Absolutely. So let's see. I have been doing my body image research work for about, I want to say it's 2023, so it's about 3 years now. And again, the reason why I started it was because I experienced it and I witnessed it happening, and I was like, this is an issue that we really should, think and talk about. And so I started my organization, The Athlete Narrative, in December of 2020, and I've been researching kind of about body image within athletics and things like that ever since. And, right when I started TAN, there was a lot of, athletes reaching out to me saying, wow, this is really important stuff that you're doing. We haven't really seen anybody else, discuss this kind of topic. This is really cool that you're doing this. And I think, as I moved forward with my research and, things like that, it just started out with Google searches. And it was Google searching, what athletes have experienced this, why is it happening? And there wasn't a lot that was turning up. And it was only until, only when I got to Northwestern that I fully started to realize the potential for, kind of these research opportunities and trying to find the right literary sources. So as soon as I got to Northwestern, I was able to open up a lot of new resources about what to read. And so I started to read into a lot of research about, both male and female, athletes experiencing body image issues, things like that. And ever since then, I have been openly reaching out to a lot of podcasts and, opportunities to present and things like that, really starting from small places and communities that I can kind of expand the word about this, because I think the biggest issue is that it's not really talked about. So it starts to show up in, daily life and just like really small conversations, things like that. I'm thinking of like, for example, you're watching sports on TV with your parents, and your parents are saying like, oh man, they're so big and, they really shouldn't be doing the sport. If they were skinnier, they could maybe do it better. Just even little things like that, I think are stemming from really just a lot of ignorance about the issue and really the toll that it can take on athletes and just people in general. So again, I'm just trying to spread the word right now, as with little steps as I can possibly, and just reach out to a lot of people about it.
Wow, I know it must really take a toll on them mentally, especially, it takes away their confidence level when they're being distracted to doing something that they love. Yeah. Absolutely,
yeah. It really robs athletes of the fun and the pride that they can take in their sport. It really does take away from that. So that's why it can be very detrimental.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about the athlete narrative blogs that you do.
Yeah, so again, I started that in, I want to say like my junior year of high school, and it started out very small, and it is still very small, and I think, the social media following for Athlete Narrative is very small. It's about like 50 or so people, but again, with those resources that I've been able to gain from going to Northwestern and reaching out to a lot of people for help on research and things like that, I've been able to kind of expand my knowledge on that. And again, it's been a really good way of reaching out to and connecting with a lot of athletes that otherwise have not really heard about this topic being talked about by anybody else. So that's kind of why I love the athlete narrative and continuing my work. But yeah, so I'm hoping as I advance my, career through college and things like that, I hope that I can still keep that up and expand my research from now on.
Okay, and as you'll be leaving Northwestern University, I don't know when exactly, but after that, are you still going to be an advocate of sorts, even past Northwestern? Is this going to be like your profession? Is this your calling?
Yeah, I think so. So I think the thing that is very interesting to me right now is law and a lot of, legislative things surrounding athletes, sports, things like that. I think things are rapidly changing and, for the better. And so I would love to be a part of that. So I think after Northwestern, it would be I would love to do research, a lot more, formal research on this topic, as well as I'm thinking of, law school, things like that. So I'm very excited to see where that takes me.
That's great. And it must be also awesome just developing, relationships with people who have faced the same thing like you did.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's really important to network and connect with people and have these conversations because, again, that's where I think the solution is going to come from, having conversations about this. And who better to talk to than athletes who have also experienced this.
That's great. And you also talk with faculty about it as well, those in the faculty? Yeah,
so I haven't really reached out to athletic facility or faculty members at all, but I have talked with Northwestern librarians and things like that to kind of help and guide my research. And that's what I've been doing. And I think with the work that I've been doing, I've been able to reach a lot of coaches within the sport. So a lot of people will come up to me and be like, hey, I read your op-ed, I listened to your podcast, I, watched you present and things like that. And it's so gratifying and rewarding to know that my work is paying off. And also it's reaching an audience that's not just, affected athletes. It's also coaches who are going to be the ones making really big decisions and impacts on an athlete's life. So it's very important to me.
How many hours do you put into a day, working as an advocate? Does it take a lot of hours?
I want to say that because of my college, I'm still a student, I'm still an athlete. It does make my hours quite limited. So again, it's taking it day by day, seeing what I can do. But I think recently I've been able to go on a lot of podcasts, write op-eds, things like that. And so I want to say I've been trying to do a podcast every month or so, or a new opportunity to reach out every month or so. So I've been kind of working my way to that every day or so. And so I think, again, it's very slow and kind of limited progress for now. But I think I think my ultimate goal is to even just educate one more person about it. I'm not trying to it would be awesome if I could, change the minds of 1,000 people in a day. But even if it's one person listening to a podcast or one person listening to a presentation and they're like, I never thought about that before, then that's a win for me. So again, very small steps with this.
Well, that's great. You're keeping up the momentum. So gotta give you props for that, Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. There's been times where I almost stopped doing it for various reasons. So that's I'm kind of proud of myself for not quitting altogether.
I must say the same thing for myself. I'm almost 2 chapters away from finishing my book, and then just stalled for some reason. I don't know. Is it just me being lazy or what? But I need to be like you. I need to, keep going. But this time around, life happens, and I slow down, and I need to finish this book. People are really looking forward to the book I'm writing. It's like an adventure novel set in the future.
You're writing it?
Yeah.
That's so cool. Oh my God. Well, you're gonna have to tell me, about it when you're done with it.
So I'll definitely let you in on it.
I can look into it. Yeah, that's so awesome. Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. And here is the question I want to ask you. What is next for you?
I think in terms of my athletic career, it's just keep going, keep being on my team and helping out and things like that. And for academics, obviously keep up my grades, try as much as I can. But I think with this work that I'm doing, there's, again, we just talked about it, so much more to do and so much more that I can, reach out to. There's a lot of, research opportunities for me to do myself, and studies I can conduct myself. And I have the resources at my disposal, thankfully. And so that's kind of, I think, next steps into the work that I will be doing. And again, just reaching out to a lot of opportunities and really getting the word out there, just one step at a time is going to be my next steps from now.
All right. All the best. And I'm going to ask like a non-related question here. What is your favorite subject in school?
I love English. I am actually an English major, and I have always loved English. And I think the course that was offered to me in high school that I took for 2 years in a row, I didn't have to, but I did, was creative writing, and I loved it. I even taught like a creative writing class in high school, just kind of like TA'd in it, and I absolutely loved it. So those are my favorite subjects in school.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't.
So
I'm glad you didn't say math. Just kidding.
No, I'm not a math girl. I would say that one of the stereotypes about Asian American people is that math, science people, and to a certain extent, there's a lot of people who are very good at science and math, and kudos to them, and that's very cool. But I can't do it, and I'm sort of bad at it. And I think just English and creative writing just opens up a lot more creative freedom for me, which I think is one of the most important things to me. I would love to be a math whiz, but unfortunately that's not me.
Okay, I'm going to throw this one in too, since I've sent this to you on message. So you have a Japanese garden over there in Portland?
Yeah, we do. It's beautiful. I love it so much.
What's the name of it?
I think it's just called the Portland Japanese Garden. Okay. I'm pretty sure. And it's beautiful. And I think they did a great job of making it, look authentic and seem authentic. And I think the one thing that my parents don't exactly understand what I'm talking about when I say this. Sometimes I'm walking around and I'm like, oh my God, wait, it just smelled like Japan just now. And they're like, what do you mean? Like it smelled like Japan? But I think the Portland Japanese Garden does an excellent job of making it like everything seem authentic, even like the pine tree smell. I think there's a lot of like pines around that area, and it just smells so fresh and so much like the Japanese air. And I'm not sure if it's like 100% intentional that they did that, but it definitely reminds me of being in Japan. And so it's really cool just to like drive over there and feel like I am in Japan and kind of like teleport for a few hours.
Definitely want to check that out one day.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I think it's right next to the Portland Rose Garden. We are the Rose City, so we take a lot of pride in that garden as well. It's beautiful. So I recommend you check those both out. Those are wonderful.
I'm definitely going to have to Google that. And when you go to when you go back to Northwestern, definitely check out the Anderson Japanese Garden in Rockford.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Is that like close to Chicago, or is that like?
I say it's about maybe less than an hour, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, awesome. No, definitely. I'll check that out for sure.
Have you ever been that way, like towards Grays Lake and Antioch? Any of those sound familiar?
I would love
Waukegan?
to do that. Not completely. I think the farthest I've been is like downtown Chicago.
Oh, okay.
So I think, with my training schedule and all that, it's kind of hard to move around. But Yeah, no, I'll definitely check those out for sure. You know, who knows when I'll be in Chicago for like my own, like an internship or research or something like that over the summer. So definitely when there's time, I'll definitely check that out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Megumi, I shall get going as well. You know, you might have to get going too. Just got to take care of, you know, outside errands. Got to beat Chicago traffic. You know how that goes. So
no, I get you.
Trying to be ahead of the game here before it starts getting really bad by 3 o'clock.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me. This has been such an honor.
Oh yeah. Thanks for being my guest today. You know, I appreciate you. You know, keep up the good work and looking out for all the athletes out there. You know, take care. You know, keep up the good work in your academics. Show what you're made of. Yeah, don't let nothing take your confidence level away. No, don't let anyone take it. Thank you so
much. Thank you. That means a lot.
All right, so she is Megumi Oishi. She was my guest today, and yeah, she is amazing. So hopefully we'll have her again soon for another episode, and we'll probably do a follow-up episode in the times to come. But I appreciate you again for stopping by. Ladies and gentlemen, again, she is Megumi Oishi. I'm glad to have had her on the show. So guys, take it easy. Have a good week. And for those kids out there that just went to school, have a wonderful school year. All right? So take care, everyone. And you take care as well, Megumi.
Thank you so much. You too.